If you're feeling stuck like you were meant for more, but you just can't break out of that loop, you're not broken. You're just playing the game with someone else's rules. I know what it feels like. I followed the path that they told me to take. Job, school, paycheck. But honestly, it just crushed my soul. The truth is, before you can master the market, you must learn to master yourself. And that starts with one thing, your identity. In this video, I'm gonna share with you the SIM method. It's a process that my partners I created to help you redesign your life in a way that you can beat the simulation. You can learn how to master yourself and in the process, master the market. So without further ado, let's jump into today's topic. I'm your host, Flo at France, and this is gonna be a good one. So if you're a coach, consultant, entrepreneur, or just someone who's willing to go against the grain of conventional society, then you've probably run into some roadblocks of creating your business, of starting your business or coming up on marketing or just figuring out the market itself. And the biggest challenge that you'll ever face is accepting that this is the new version of you. Now I get it. It's a hard pill to swallow. For a lot of us, we were sold a dream and that's all it was, guys. Magic. It was a dream like the Wizard of Oz. But don't worry, I want to help you redefine yourself, master yourself so that you can start to master the market. Because one of the biggest issues that I found, and from my personal journey, was that I didn't see myself as this new person. I didn't see myself as a coach. I didn't see myself as an entrepreneur. I didn't see myself as someone who could help others. And in that, because I couldn't see it in my own mind, I couldn't help anybody. Because I was still holding on to the fear, the scarcity, the lack of abundance. And that kept me frozen in place. But with a lot of research, a lot of development, I came up with this seven-step strategy to help you overcome your identity and help you walk into your power as a coach, as an entrepreneur, someone who's on a mission to succeed. I told you guys in my content, my goal is to help you master yourself and master your market. Because when you grow, your business grows. But your business won't grow unless you grow. So let's jump into the SIM method. And so the SIM method, this is not the first version of the SIM method. There was many iterations before I came up to these three main things that I think every individual needs. These three main things that I think every individual needs in order to master themselves. And I want to start here with just mastering yourself. I put out some content on the marketing. Go check those things out. They should give you some base idea of where to start. But I wanted to get clear on mastering yourself because most of the time, it's not about the strategies. It's not about the tactics. It's not about consuming lots of information. You've probably done that if you're here. It's that you're not taking the right actions behind that person, right? You may have all the knowledge, but you're not executing on that knowledge. Why is that? Why aren't you executing on that knowledge? You know it will move the needle. Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't. You're afraid that it won't work. Who knows, right? We all have our own, let's say, demons, our own limited beliefs that are stopping us from actually achieving the goal of becoming this new version of yourself. I'm right there with you guys. As you can see, I'm taking messy action because I understand that the name of the game is to be proactive. It is to walk and embody the version of the person you wish to be, not the person you used to be. And so in the SIM method, it's really teaching you how to master the simulation of life. Now, there's a lot of science behind this, guys, but this is not the video. I want to go and start with the first letter that I think is important out of the SIM method, and it is the I. The I is very important. As you can see, I'm not following it in a sequence step. Step 1, step 2, step 3. I'm going by order of importance. The I stands for, and this is the important part, and I kind of teased it, I kind of talked about it a little, but you need to have an identity change. You see, until you accept this new identity about yourself and who you want to be, nothing will change. You must accept this new person because you got to understand, if you're not successful, if you're not where you want to be, it's because you haven't accepted the new person that you're trying to be. You're still holding on to the old version of yourself, and you can't hold on to that person because that person, he or she may have gotten you up to this point, but they won't get you to the next point. You need to adopt a whole new identity. And I created a 7-step process to help you adopt that new identity. You see, with your identity, you have a certain psychology, a certain mindset that is you, the identity of you. And that person is constantly evolving by the actions we take, by the way that we change our thinking, the way that we feel. That person, you, is constantly evolving. And so when you need to have an identity change, you see, for me, I was a fearful, scared individual. I didn't want to show up on content. I didn't want to do a lot of things that put me outside my comfort zone. And because of that, I didn't change, right? And I had to accept that if I want to become this new version of myself, then I must have an identity. I must become this version of me. You see, you got to realize, guys, all you are just all the programs that you have accumulated over the years of your life. You see, when we were kids, let me break this down, okay? I want to really break this down in the identity change, kind of give you guys an understanding a little bit of the science behind it. But when you're growing up as a child, there's 3 layers to your brain, right? And don't look at it as what I'm going to create as the size of your brain, but understanding the concept of the brain. You have the reptilian brain, and this is the fear, this is the survival brain. This is that part of your brain that tells you I'm hungry, the part of your brain that tells you danger, the part of your brain that's instinctual. It's within every single animal, including you. You are part animal, don't forget that, but you're also divine, you're also God, part God also. And so the reptilian brain, its job is to keep you alive. That's it. It's keep you alive. And the way the brain develops, it develops from bottom to top. You see, the next brain after that, which is bigger than reptilian brain, is the limbic brain. And we're just to keep it simple, that's the emotional brain. We are ruled by our emotions, right? And so when you are growing up, let's say 1 to 7, this is usually the formative years, 1 to 7 years, you are getting bombarded by outside influence. People are telling you about yourself, you're learning through experiences, whatever it may be. Things are happening to you, and you are interpreting those things from a 7-year-old's point of view. Okay, and not even 7, right? Up to for a long time of us, it's 1 to 7. So a lot of us are not even consciously aware of what's being programmed into our subconscious brain. Okay. Does that make sense? Write in the comments if it makes sense. Let me know. I want to make sure that I'm providing information that makes sense to y'all. But let's keep on going. So over time, as your brain starts to develop, you create the prefrontal cortex, the logical brain, right? And when I said don't look at this as this is bigger, the prefrontal cortex is actually smaller than the emotional brain. And that's important, because a lot of our saved programs are saved in the emotional part of our brain. We had significant emotional experiences that had an effect on our psychology and our mental being, on who we are today as we show up. And so you must understand that there's some programs in you that are either stopping you or helping you. And over time, over whatever age that you are, you created an identity of yourself based off all the experiences that happened to you. And as you grown, became more of an adult, your prefrontal cortex, your logical brain got more developed. And I think it says your brain doesn't fully develop until about age 30. So until you're about 30 years old, most of your brain has not fully developed. Now you can logically think, but let's not forget, the brain saves everything all the experiences that you ever went through. So all your identity is a program. And so what your job is in step 1 of the 7 steps is to change your programming, because your programming never stops. It's continuing as you live your life. And so one of the first steps is, if you are deciding to become this new version of yourself, to change your life, to become the coach, the person that transforms lives, you must decide to leave the old version of yourself and embrace the new. So this is what leads me to the second step. I'm going to use a different market. Clarity. Clarity, clarity, clarity. For the second step, you guys got to understand. So this is part of the identity change. This is the process of identity change. In order to change your identity, in order to become this new version of yourself, and this is all important because you must master yourself. The current version of you isn't making the right amount of money, isn't having the right relationships, isn't doing the right things or the right habits. So you must make a change in your identity in order to change your life. And so in order to change, you must get clarity on the old programs that are no longer serving you and decide what new programs you're going to start to develop to master yourself. I can talk from personal experience. That's what I did for myself. I looked at myself. So in this process, and I think I talked about it a little bit in my other content of the overcoming your imposter syndrome. It's been a while since I checked that video, but you must decide, right? There's two versions of you. You must decide what the old version is and who you're going to be with the new version. And you got to realize the old version is based off mostly of your childhood programming. So a lot of the things that are holding us back is things that we had honestly no control of. But as an adult, as a thinking, rational human being, you now have the ability to reprogram, look at the old programs, see if they're serving you. If they're not serving you, it's time to let them go and then create new programs that align with the vision of the person that you want to be. That's why we started with identity, right? We started step one, identity, because you need to be able to see with the new version of the person that you want to be. If you can't see it in your own mind, how can you ever become that person? And even worse, if you're a coach, you should be able to do that same process for your clientele. You went through a personal transformation. You decided this is who I am. I am a coach. In that personal transformation, there are certain steps that you took. There are certain mindsets that you had to change. You had to become a new person because it's like shedding an old skin. You're rebirthing yourself. And you got to do that also for your clientele. People want transformation. People want change. People want to leave the old version of themselves and adopt the new version. But a lot of us just don't know how to do that. And so that's why we start with clarity, getting a clear understanding of the old programs and the new version of the person you want to be. You see, in that process of getting clear of the person you want to be, you have old emotional wounds. That are still showing up today. And for a lot of us, those are the survival programming. I don't know about you guys, but growing up wasn't easy. There was a lot of, honestly, crises, events, things that you had to navigate. And if you're like me, then you probably didn't have your parents to lean on. You didn't have people to talk to. You were probably alone. I was alone. I felt isolated. I could not express myself freely because other people would look at me crazy. But I understand through that isolation, through that process of me looking at myself, going through the experiences, I looked at those programs and I realized none of them are serving me. They helped me survive to get to this point, but they are not helping me leave the scarcity mindset and embrace the abundance mindset. That's why they talk about positive thinking, because you have some negative patterns within your old version of yourself that are stopping you from getting the new version of yourself. So when you get clear on the identity, you want to make an identity change. You got to get clear on who you want to be. You want to get clarity. And this process is an ongoing process. It's a process that never stops. It's a process that's always ongoing because you're always trying to be the best version of yourself, whatever that may be for you. And why we start with identity is like a lot of our identity is based off of what other people told us about our lives, about who we should be. And maybe some of it helps. Maybe some of it didn't help. But you got to decide which one you're going to be. Which one are you going to choose to decide to be? So that leads me off. That leads me to the third steps. Visualize to victory. You see, I gave you that model, not a great picture of a brain, but the way that your brain works in basics. I don't want to overwhelm a lot of people here, but think you probably heard left brain, right brain. Okay? So your left brain, right brain. You must visualize the person that you want to be. Why is that important? You see, your left brain aka the ego, aka you, who's probably conscious right now watching this video, is about 10% of your consciousness, right? This is where the consciousness aspect comes into play. So I told you a little bit, your brain is developed from the bottom up to the top, okay? So you're an adult, you won't fully develop. And it has two main functions, left brain, right brain. You have the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. Okay? And what ends up happening, this is what you guys gotta understand. This is what ends up happening. This is important because you gotta understand, in order to change your identity, you must understand how your identity got formed in the first place. So this is the process of manifestation, the process of how you got created mentally. And you guys probably seen a lot of videos about it, but your thinking plus your feeling plus your actions equal your results. Okay? The thinking brain, the left brain, the prefrontal cortex part of your brain, certain words, certain events, certain things happened where you, the person, the ego, the sentinel, the guard at the gate, decided this event happened to me, what was me, or this happened to me, great is me, right? Like this is where the victim versus victor mentality kick in. Right? If all your life things were happening to you and you consciously believe things were happening to you, what's happening is it's getting saved in the subconscious brain. It's becoming a part of you. This is why it talks in the Bible, let the word became flesh. Right? This is why words are flesh. You got to understand, words matter, right? They're matter. They exist. We live in a vibrational frequency world. It's all energy. It's all emotion. I'm not going to get too deep into that. I'm sure if you are a person who is aligned with me, then you probably have dabbled in understanding quantum physics and things of that nature, and understanding the law of vibration, spirituality, blah, 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 blah. But I wanted to kind of piece the pieces together to kind of give you guys a better insight into why I think it's important to visualize. Because you understand, the left brain deals with words and logic, while the right brain deals with images and feelings. This is why I said earlier, you had emotional moments in your life that had a significant impact on you, and you saved them into you, right? It got into the conscious to the subconscious. What actually ends up happening when you continue to repeat this pattern, it gets saved in the hippocampus, and the hippocampus is the part of your brain that just saves everything. Think about it as a storage unit. It saves everything you've ever gone through, and a lot of it is being saved consciously and subconsciously. Hopefully I didn't lose you guys there. Let me know if it makes sense. Again, I won't know unless you communicate towards me, okay? And so why it's important to visualize. When you visualize, the brain can't tell the difference between what is real and imagined. So as you're visualizing, as you're adding details into your mind, what ends up happening is that you're saving new programs into your subconscious mind. This is where the identity change comes in. Because as you save new programs into your subconscious mind, you will slowly start to become a new person. This is why it's so important. In order to master the market, you must master yourself first, right? And that takes time, but it only takes as much as you believing that you're a new person. And so that leads me to the next step. Step 4, you must expect to win. A lot of us feel like failures inside. A lot of us. There's a lot of people like to, what I mean by failures is that when we try something new, when we try to create something new, we automatically see that we're not going to do it well. And I can speak for myself. When I first started this coaching business, all the what ifs started coming. Oh, what if I can't coach them? What if I can't teach them things? What if this, what if that, blah, 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 blah. And it's an endless cycle. And what is that doing to you guys? We talked about it earlier. Your thinking brain, then you're feeling a new state of mind, and then you're going to act that out, and you're going to create that result. That's the process of manifestation. And so because you're expecting to lose, you're creating a reality that has already been created. So you must be in charge of yourself, of mastering yourself moving forward. You must decide that you won't let any negative thought, any negative programming get past your conscious mind, because you choose what goes into the subconscious. Things are not happening to you. You choose what happens. Now, I get it. Sometimes we can't control what we can't control, but we can control how we interpret the situation. For example, when I was younger, I got that Disney programming in my mind. I'm going to find my one. Oh my God. But that's just all BS to me personally, to each their own on their beliefs. But because of that subconscious programming, I kept on over thinking like, oh, this girl's the one. This girl's the one. This girl's the one. And that's bad programming, because what am I doing? I'm setting up so much expectation to give onto her. And subconsciously, she's feeling that because we're emotional beings, we're energetic beings, and that's pushing her away. I understood this. I'm aware of my programming. I had to remove that programming and replace it with a new programming. That's where the dating coach experience came in. I had to reprogram my mind and understand I can't look at the world for what I want it. I must look at it for what it is, based off the results and the reality. And I must adjust myself because my programming wasn't serving me. I was losing. I was expecting. Now, this kind of went on a tangent, but I'm using that example to understand that when you have bad programming, and a lot of it is survival programming within you, you're not going to get the results that you want. Now, if you are like me, if you got rejected, or the person you position as the one doesn't see you as the one, now you feel rejection. Oh my God, nobody loves me. I had this negative spiral pattern within me. And I understood that, and I was aware of that. Now I see it. I see the programming. I'm aware. Now I'm not saying I've gotten rid of all my negative programs completely. It's a process. I've been working on myself for years. I got here to this point because I've been working on my internal programs and reshaping myself to be the person that can show up and actually share knowledge with you guys. Right? And so now I expect to win. Even with the coaching, it's the same process. If I didn't believe I can succeed as a coach because I lacked the experience and the skill sets. But I had to believe that I could gain the experience in the skill sets, which I did. Once I believed I could gain the experience in the skill set, I started gaining the experience in the skill sets, because it's all about belief. Now, I get it. You don't have all the knowledge. You don't have all the experience. You don't have X, Y, and Z, but you can go learn it. There's no excuse in today's society to not learn anything. Everything's available. Everything's on YouTube. Everything's online. You can Google. You can read books. Whatever form of entertainment, education that you want, you can get it. If there's something you want to be, an identity change, I'm going to always reinforce an identity change. You can be it. You just have to decide to be it, and you got to be willing to let go of the old version of you, because the old version of you is not aligned with the new version of you. And so you must learn to expect to win, even when you cannot see it. That's why it's called faith, not fear, right? Fear is when you're fearful, it's because you're focused on the external reality. When you're living by faith, you don't know what's going to happen. You're living in your imagination. You believe with certainty that you're going to get the results, regardless if the results show up at all. And hopefully that made sense. But we're going to move on. We're going to get to the next step. Which leads me to step 5. You must learn to upgrade your beliefs. Now, I've been kind of, talking about it a little bit, but you have an identity, aka you, and all those experiences have, you've created beliefs along the way of who you are right now. And remember, you're the consciousness part. You don't know what you saved if you weren't paying attention along the way as you're growing. Most of us are not. We're just kind of going through the motions. People are kind of telling us where to go. We're like we're sheep being herded, right? For me, right? Go to school, get good grades, go to college, get a job. And then it stops with the direction. Because the next thing, right? The next thing I thought was, okay, rise up the rank, improve your skill sets, blah, 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 blah. That didn't work for me. For some people, it may work. It just didn't work for me. It didn't speak to my soul. It didn't speak to the identity of the version of the me that I wanted to be. Even though I was fearful, and I didn't have any of the confidence, competence in order to become that person. And so I say to you, if there's a version of you that you need to be, you need to create new beliefs. You need to adopt new beliefs. Beliefs that will serve you, beliefs that will help change you. Actually, if I remember correctly, I remember watching a YouTube video about this, and I'm going to hopefully try to go off the top here. It's been a while. And he talked about is most of us try to change from the outside in process. So what's the outside in process? Right? So what most of us like to do first is change our habits. Right? We like to change our habits. But most of the time, if you guys done the literature, studied it, most of us can't stay long enough to change our habits. Just doesn't happen. And so in order to go, and I'm going to go reverse it now, right? The inside out approach is so much better. Right? In order to change your identity, to become the person, you must change the stories that are tied to that identity. You got to change the stories that are tied to the identity. Because all you are a bunch of stories that you have been the author. You've been writing the book. You created the book. And you have interpreted it from the lens of good and bad. Because we live in the law of polarity. We live in the world of good and evil. And one cannot be out there. It's the yin and yang. It's the white and the black. It's just what it is. The up and down, the left and right, the east and west, the north and south. We live in a world of polarity. And so those stories have beliefs associated with them. And those beliefs have reinforced, because this is who you believe yourself to be, right? You have created habits associated with this identity based off the stories that you experience, based off the beliefs that you adopt, and you have habits behind it. And honestly, guys, I forgot that this part is you take an action, right? Because usually we just start once trying to pick. A habit is something you do over and over and over again. An action is just the one step, right? And so really, most of us try to change our actions, try to build habits, but this is where we stop, most of us. If you're going in the outside-in approach, this is why you want to go the inside-out approach. You must upgrade your beliefs, right? This is where your beliefs start. And this is why I start with analyzing your identity over here. This is the star here. This is why I start with analyze identity. Analyze the stories you've been telling yourself, the old version of you versus the new version of you, and then decide which beliefs that you want to keep. You're either going to have limiting beliefs or empowering ones. That's it. And you got to start to rewrite the program, rewrite the story, rewrite the identity of you. You must master yourself, become the new version, and actively work on this person, right? Just like you actively became this person who you are right now in this moment, you must actively work on this person. But that's it on this section. Let's get to the next step. Sixth step is aligned action. Right? Step 1, get a new identity. Step 2, decide on who you get clear on who you've been and who you want to be. Step 3, visualize. Start to see yourself walking and acting and doing the things that the new habits, new identity, the new version of you is doing. Step 4, expect to win. Expect to succeed at becoming this new version of yourself, because that version can be built. It's not hard. We live in the age of knowing. We live in the age of information. Any version of you that you want to be is available. It's out there. You just got to decide and commit to it. Step 5, upgrade your beliefs. You got to get rid of the limiting beliefs and start getting empowering beliefs, because the person who's the business owner, the person who's the coach, the person entrepreneur, they have a certain set of beliefs and actions and activities that they do to get you the results. Just like I have a process to create content, because it's based off of new beliefs, because the old beliefs, right? Playing video games, watching TV, Netflix, things of that nature. Those beliefs weren't helping me get closer to the version that I want to be. So I had to create new beliefs. Okay, how do I become a content creator? What do I need to do? What do I need to learn? Right? You guys start asking yourself more empowering questions, because you must change your identity before you can change. This is why Jesus says the kingdom of God is within you. Go within, my friend. Go within. Change this person, and the external reality will change yourself. But it requires you to take action behind that. See, so as you gather this information, as you get clear on who you want to be, you must decide on what is the best action that I can take today in this moment, because the only moment that matters right now is the present moment right now. That's the only moment. Not tomorrow, Not yesterday. It's the present moment. What action can I take right here, right now, in this moment to get me closer to the identity of the version of that I want to be? Because now you're clear about it. When you get clear, you see the activities are actually helping you get there or the activities are not getting you there. You got to be clear. That's why clarity is king. Or you're going to continue to run through that same program, that same cycle that's not serving you, that's giving you those feelings of negativity, feelings of survival, feelings that are just not making you feel like the best version of you. If you want to show up as the best version of you, you must decide. It's a choice. It's a decision. And understand, when you're taking action, guys, doesn't mean it's the right action. Because you don't know what you don't know. This is what it is. You just have to take action and learn from the experience. That leads us to step 7, which is adapt and get feedback. You see, you're constantly adapting, getting feedback, and learning along the way. That's how we learn as humans. When you were a baby, you didn't know how to walk. You had to learn how to crawl, then you had to get up, stumble a little bit, fall, get back up. So, right? You learn through the inputs, the positive and the negative feedback. But how did you learn how to walk? You first saw an example. You saw your parents, you saw everyone around you walking. It's the same process. Now I get it. It's a little bit more complex trying to be a multi-millionaire, trying to be a coach, a 6-figure coach, a 7-figure coach. Yeah, it's a little bit more difficult, but so what? It's still the same process to get to that same version of yourself. So this is why I say that's why I start with the SIM method to master your identity. Because when you master your identity, when you become the person, the things that you need to do become easier because you're just acting like that person. This is what it is. As you become that person, but don't worry, guys, I'm going to be here every step of the way to help you become that person, help you master yourself before you can master the market. I'm going to be coming out with more content, marketing, and honestly, self-improvement content because you got to improve. You got to be a person who's growing. And in that process, you're going to leave some people behind because not everybody has a dream or a vision. You do. That's why you're here. You have a purpose. You have a goal in mind. And so if you want more content like this, hit the subscribe button. I'm going to be coming out with more content to help you master yourself and master the market. But with that note, I'll see you at the top, dog. Because remember, when you grow, your business grows.